This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
I'm going to call to order the meeting of the Southampton Select Board for February 19th at about 6:10 p.m. And I think we want to have the Finance Committee call yourselves together.
Call the meeting to order at 6:10 for the Finance Committee.
All right. Can we stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great. Okay, so tonight on our agenda we have some budget hearings, our joint meeting with FinCom. So we have the Select Board side, we've got Stephen, Ellen, and myself, and we have a complete FinCom. All right.
As complete as it can be.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Jamie, Reggie, and Doug. Okay, so first up, I think we have
Yes.
Council on Aging.
Hi, everyone. For those of you I haven't met in person, just you. My name's Easthampton. I'm the director and one of the Shine Counselors at the Senior Center.
Okay, you're going to need to speak up.
Speak up? Okay, sorry. I'm not used to that. So, would you do the next slide, please? So, the Southampton Senior Center provides a lot of different things. We are more than just having coffee, playing cards. We are a social environment, but there's a lot of resource sharing that we do offer along with programs and activities. So we have information, referrals, and access to community services, Medicare and Shine counseling. So I am a Shine counselor. We have two on staff, myself and Michelle Murdoch, who is the town's VSO, but she is our dedicated outreach worker at the Senior Center. Shine stands for serving the health insurance needs of everyone. We do Medicare counseling for anyone that is eligible. So sometimes you're eligible before you're 65, but it's primarily the 65 plus demographic. We also do public benefits counseling. There are other things that people can apply for and might be eligible for based on their income. We offer application and case assistance with the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, which is new for us this past year. We are able to assist with the Low Income Heat and Energy Assistance Program, which is also more commonly known as fuel assistance. And we also do housing application assistance. We offer transportation to our 60 plus population for our Southampton residents through the Franklin Regional Transit Authority. It's a partnership that we have through them. I'll speak more to that in a little while. We have a number of programming and activities. There was over 70 different programming and activities. We'll go over that as well last year. Multiple volunteer opportunities, not only with the Senior Center, but also with the town. And like I mentioned, socialization opportunities to our 60 plus population. We currently have more than 2,300 residents that are over the age of 60 and close to 1,000 that are more between that 50 and 60 demographic. So hopefully our attendance and our membership increases over the next 10 years. Thank you. So this is our staff. I am considered full-time. We are open Monday through Thursday from 8:30 to 4. I am 32 hours a week. We have our volunteer coordinator, Andrea, for 14 hours a week. Pam Conant, our program coordinator, 18 hours a week. Michelle Murdoch, our outreach worker, she primarily works Monday through Wednesday. Darlene Matyoka, our administrative assistant, she does a lot of our FRITA and our data entry related to our reports. And then two FRITA van drivers that report to us, Tim Huber and Bill Kalita. Although we are only open as a center Monday through Thursday, we do offer our van rides with our FRITA van Monday through Friday. Thank you. So this is a little snapshot of our regular programming and activities. Fridays tend to be fairly light and we kind of hold those for special events, but there's a number of activities every single day that we have, weather dependent, season dependent. Our walking group is fantastic. They're still walking. You can see them going up and down Clark Street Monday through Friday. But we do offer a number of health and exercise classes, informational talks, webinars, that we host for folks that might not have access to the internet and those webinars at home. Again, public benefits counseling. We do have craft group, coffee hour. We have a partnership with Michelle for her VSO role, and we host our veterans in town once a month. And we also offer technical support, chair yoga, memory cafes once a month, and a number of other programs. So this is a little snapshot. I got Scott up there with the chief. Number of our special events that we host throughout the year. A few of them I do want to highlight. The pancakes in September have been an absolute huge hit. Scott has been hosting that with our police chief and our fire chief the past 2 years, and it's been a packed house, especially once they figured out that he uses fresh fruit with his pancakes.
As the frozen blueberries? Or
That's okay. It's okay. We have a very good partnership with our fire department and our police department through our Triad initiative, and they have done a number of programs for us related to our CPR training, kitchen and cooking safety classes, falls prevention. The police department comes over with the Northwestern District Attorney's Office to do scams talks. We're just trying to do as much education as possible. And also we've hosted various community organizations, committees. We were able to host and participate in Southampton's 250th last year, which was a lot of fun. We had our first ice cream truck last year, which was a big hit. And one thing I do want to highlight is we've had a really good partnership over the past year with Bay State Noble Hospital and Cooley Dickinson Hospital with some falls prevention, stroke education classes, and we're hoping to expand those in the future. So, just wanted to talk a little bit about the impact. One thing I will say, we are doing our best to not only just be in our little community, but also branch out into the larger Southampton community. Our attendance and membership has increased more than 20% over the past year. We've had a number of new members. There's over a 30% increase in new members this past year. Like I mentioned, the Franklin Regional Transit Authority van, just a brief overview. We have 2 van drivers, and a part of the partnership is that we are able to provide public transportation, since Southampton does not have it currently, to individuals 60 and over and those with a certain percentage disability status. It is a program that is approved through the Franklin Regional Transit Authority, and it is a reimbursement grant. So it costs the town practically nothing, and we bill back to FRIDA, and then they basically pay for our drivers and for the services. One of the fantastic things related to the grant that they have, as of right now, and has been for the past almost a year and a half, all rides are free if you're approved on the van. So it's been great for folks needing to get to medical appointments, going grocery shopping, and all that. The Shine in Medicare Public Benefits Counseling, we've had more than 150 Medicare-specific appointments in 2025. Michelle came on as our outreach worker. She wasn't on board when we met last year, but she came on shortly after. She dove headfirst into the Shine training, which is about 80 hours worth of training to get certified with the state. We do need to get recertified every single year, since nothing stays the same with Medicare from year to year. And I will say, as being the only Shine counselor before her arrival, there is no possible way that we would have been able to handle that type of number for folks. Some of the Medicare appointments, spouses come, it ends up being a 2.5-hour talk just to try and get through everything related to their medical needs. Sometimes it's an hour conversation, they come back, it's another 1.5-hour conversation. We do our best to be impartial. We are not allowed to sell anything. We don't have salespeople come into the senior center, but it's setting them up for their best success in the upcoming year, and then we start all over again for open enrollment in the fall. The other thing I do want to talk about for public benefits, there is the Medicare Savings Program, which is an income-based program that helps subsidize some of the costs related to Medicare. Like I mentioned, the light heat fuel assistance and utility discounts. Eversource does provide discounts for folks that qualify under some of the public benefits programs. Most people don't know about them, so we do our best to screen for those. And then SNAP is a supplemental nutrition program. So one thing that I had applied for last year was the outreach partnership. So it is a partnership with the Department of Transitional Assistance, which oversees SNAP in the state of Massachusetts, and the UMass Medical School in Worcester, who does all of the trainings with DTA. It is a reimbursement partnership, so if we are able to assist with applications, say I meet with you, we meet for 2 hours, you get approved for SNAP. I help with your case assistance. We get reimbursed for 50% of our salaries based off how much time we've spent with you. So it was surprising to hear, especially when the government had shut down, SNAP benefits were frozen. There's more than 400 people in town that are on SNAP. It ebbs and flows every single month. That number is based off December's numbers. The state has not released January's yet, but 117 households, so not just people, but households, are over the age of 60. So we are going to be doing more outreach related to that partnership, not so much because of the reimbursement, but because the need is so there. I do want to give a shout out to FOSCOAs, our friends of the Southampton Council on Aging. They have been phenomenal in subsidizing costs for our grocery bag giveaway. We give out 50 full grocery bags before Thanksgiving every single year. Number of volunteers, you can see the bags lined up right there. Big East Supermarket in Easthampton gives us everything at cost, so they make no money with it, and they try and do the best that they can to give us the highest quality of food for the amount that the Friends donates. Mary Kennedy is right there. She's our Volunteer of the Year a few years ago. She has initiated a school supply drive for Norris Elementary School the past 2 years, as well as a winter clothing drive for Norris and Hampshire Regional High School. As you can see from the amount of clothes, it was very successful. I will say for this year, because of what Norris PTO was requesting, we received a couple $100s worth of gift cards. So less supplies this year, more gift cards for teachers. So it was really, really impressive what she was able to do. So I won't necessarily go through all of these, but we have, similar to last year, launched a number of new programs. We have a partnership with Highland Valley Elder Services to provide grab-and-go luncheons. A part of their subsidizing for their grant, we are a community dining center. We allow folks to come in, have lunch with the folks that also order or don't order and just want to come in and have lunch. It is a $4 suggested donation, but you do not have to pay if you can't or do not want to. And it's been primarily hot lunches as well. So that partnership has been fantastic. The Fritivan, we had more than 1,200 trips taken last year. We had more than 3,000 hours of service for our volunteers at the senior center, and that includes, we have full coverage now for our front desk reception. We do not have a dedicated receptionist with this influx. We have individuals that come and help us organize for different events, set up for our memory cafe, serve, clean up. One of our volunteers is also helping us clean and mop the senior center now, which a lifesaver, especially with all the salt in the parking lot. It's been fantastic. And so I will say the amount of people that have been asking to volunteer specifically with our front desk and with our events has been astronomical this past year. We couldn't ask for more from them. Our Triad program, that is a partnership with the Senior Center, the Fire Department, Police Department, Northwest District Attorney's Office, Public Health is a portion of that as well. We are able to help provide durable medical equipment lending. Our Stand for Seniors program, we have over 100 people on the list this year for Stand for Seniors. Lock boxes, which are installed through the police department. So in case there's an emergency, it's a lock box that the police can access in case you have to call 911, so they don't do damage to the property having to break into the house, which personally have had to use in our home, and it's fantastic. And reflective house number signs. So we've received a number of those with all the snow and the plows in town. It's so hard. But if you do know anybody that needs any of these things, please send them our way. So some of the challenges that we just face in general, funding needed for COA salaries. I'll go into that in a little bit. Currently, our volunteer coordinator and our outreach worker are not funded, fully funded by the town. Our volunteer coordinator is 50% funded by the town, 50% funded by a grant. Our outreach worker, her salary is going to be ending by the beginning of June of this year. She was paid out of an FY22 COA earmark through Senator Vilas's office. And the funding it was one-time funding. That was fantastic to create the outreach position. It's how I kind of started at the senior center, but the funds are running out. Now we're requesting an increase in paid hours. For me, the amount of hours that I work does not necessarily correspond with what is currently listed on the salary. Lack of office space. We have 5 staff sharing one office. We are grateful for the fact that Michelle has her own office as part of her VSO role, but if that ever changes, it creates more of a burden, just in terms of needing to provide that confidential space related to HIPAA, just public benefits counseling, that type of thing. We have done our best to apply for grants. We have this area in the COA called the Cloffice. It is the closet office. Right now, because we are short on space, the treadmill and the recumbent bike are in there. So we're being creative with our spaces, but we do use the select board room downstairs heavily for those one-on-one meetings. Given the increase in programming and increase in attendance, we would love to have additional space, especially in the select board room if we're able to, for new programming options and just being able to actually safely increase our class size. And so with the FRITA van drivers, we don't have a designated staff member that handles all of the influx and calls related. We have more than 100 people on the FRITA list that are approved to ride on the van. It is time consuming. It is fantastic that we have this service, but it's a challenge in day-to-day operations. And then some of our facilities related challenges, I joke that I'm kind of like a walking red flag when Scott sees me. We've had a number of facilities challenges related to broken pipes, sewer vents, HVAC. I'm sure if any of you attended the Zero College Highway presentation last week, you couldn't hear most of what was being said. HVAC's a little wonky, so we're working through it. So this is an overview of the salaries. One thing I did want to touch base on, which I feel like was a hot point last year, the FY25 actual for that 65,515 listed at the top, that was the actual of what the town had paid out for salaries, but did not represent the subsidizing of the grants that we have for, that we had paid out for our salaries. So it didn't include the state formula grant, it didn't include the FY22 earmark, and it didn't include the FRITA van reimbursement grant. So it looks like it's an astronomical jump between FY25 and 26, but Scott made it a point to add in that type of grant funding so it better represents what the actual operational needs are for the senior center. I am the benefit eligible individual that's listed up there. Non-benefits includes the rest of the staff that we had previously talked about. And then, can you just go back one more second? Sorry. So down at the bottom, that COA state grant that's listed there, it's called the state formula grant. We are allocated 60 as of this year, and they're pushing for this for next year. We are allocated $16 per individual, 60 and over, based off the 2020 census. So as of 2020, we had 1,915 seniors. We have over 2,300 right now. So if we were to get full funding, as it increases every year, it would be an additional about $6,000 related to our funding. The earmark FY27 is listed there. It's completely wiped out, unfortunately. And then for our FRITA grant transportation, FRITA did increase our budget allotment from $30,000 to $35,000 for the reimbursement.
Okay, just a question. Can you just mention if there's any restrictions on any of those grants in terms of how you can spend them?
So for the earmark, it had to be spent, I believe, for outreach related, just in general. So it is dedicated to the outreach worker. Like I mentioned, that salary is going to run out by the start of June, so we will have to subsidize whatever June salary would be so we don't have a disruption in services. For the state grant, we are able, we use that, the goal is to be able to use that primarily for programming. It does subsidize a majority of our operational expenses at the senior center. So when we have a memory cafe, it pays for the food, the performer. Everything is more expensive, and it adds, especially with food, it adds up really quick. And sometimes we want to provide light lunches or a lunch for the folks that do come. So we do our best to get all of this as tightly packed as possible for different events, but we'd love to offer more. One thing I will say, as a part of the state formula grant, we do have 2 volunteer appreciation events that we host. We host the town's Veterans Appreciation Luncheon or brunch in November, and that had such a huge influx. I can only imagine that growing, and that catering bill is, which for that specific event is over $1,000. That comes out of the state formula grant. So we try and keep that specifically for programming and operational expenses. And one thing I will say, the caveat is it's dependent upon the approval of the governor's proposed budget. So it's not guaranteed funding for us from year to year. So we still haven't received all of the payments for this fiscal year. They come in little increments with the hope that the rest of it kind of gets closed out by the end of the year. But one of the things that we would prefer to do is have the town cover all of the salaries as mentioned below, because that state formula grant is not guaranteed funds every year. Thank you. This is just a brief overview of what we have. So the salaries, not including the FRITA van driver, since that is a reimbursable grant, would be the $131,890. This also includes the request for my increased hours. A lot of that is with the Shine counseling, the increased demand of the center, and then just how much more that we're doing and have taken on over the past few years. So annual funding, operating expenses, the $2,500, and then COA salaries. I put not 100% funded. That was for FY26. And so that's what the estimated amount was for assuming everybody works all their hours this year. That's what it would be. And then this is a snapshot of our external funding. Like I mentioned, state formula grant is pending distribution of funds from the state. The reimbursement grant is budgeted for $35,000, but if we do go over, FRTA does work with us on that. We applied for a senior center modernization grant, which has allowed us to upgrade some of the things in our facilities. We were able to order a table, chairs for the office, more of an accessible water cooler for downstairs because we're just using way too many plastic bottles. Sound paneling for the walls so it can help with some of the acoustics related to our performances. And then a few other things related to the modernization, including dementia-friendly signage that we're hoping to put in now that the ADA accessibility study has been completed. And then, so choose go back, sorry. One thing I will say, so the Friends of the Southampton Council on Aging, they have contributed $4,380, which includes our dues for MCOA. When we get our floors redone, it's well over $1,000, and they desperately need to get redone at this point after this winter. And then they also help with our My Senior Center database, which is our full database. We did receive a COA appropriation for the governor's budget, pending distribution from funds from the state related to programming and improvements. It is one-time funding that is only dedicated for programming and improvements, so we wouldn't be able to use that for salary. But there is no deadline on when we're able to spend that, so we can take that into the next fiscal year, especially related to improvements within the senior center. We do collect class revenue related to chair yoga and line dancing. That is an estimate for what it would be for FY26. Our goal, especially if we can free up some of the state formula grant funding, is to not have to charge anyone in town to be able to attend our classes, especially as it relates to health and wellness. Thank you. I know I've gone over a few of these things already. So currently the volunteer coordinator salary is 50% town funded, 50% state formula grant funded, which is about $7,700. The state formula grant, like I mentioned, is $30,640, and it covers programming, supplies, additional required funding for operational costs. And the Friends of the Southampton Council on Aging are huge supporters of us, especially as it relates to a number of our events. Like I mentioned, the outreach worker's salary was 100% paid for by the earmark, and then the funding will be running out, and the driver salaries are reimbursed. So our request for FY27, full funding of the COA salaries, especially as the state formula grant may not be a sustainable option for us moving forward related to the salaries. Level funded operating budget of $2,500. Did not want to request an increase, especially if our state formula grant funds are freed up. And then an increase in my hours from 32 to 35 hours to reflect additional time worked per week. It's taking on the SNAP and the Shine, and just with the increase in attendance, it's been such a phenomenal opportunity. Didn't expect the influx to be so quick and so much so soon, but we love what we do, and we say it's our happy place, so we're happy to be there and appreciate your time tonight. Do you have any questions?
I have a few.
Yeah.
So the salary that's going to be not funded in June, what's the plan to get it to the end of the fiscal year to July 1? Or?
So we were going to utilize the state formula grant since we do have some funding in there. It's less than $1,000, so it's something that we are able to take on just to kind of get us to the start of the fiscal year.
And the proposal of the new budget would support that moving for
It would,
FY27?
so the proposal of the new budget would have the town taking on that salary line as just a permanent salary line, along with the 50% of the volunteer coordinator position.
And then you referenced that there was a $25K grant for programming. So can that be used like for the state formula if that one falls short? Like the $25K that was a new grant that you said? So that seemed to be pretty specific for programming as well. So with those?
Yeah, so it's programming and improvement. So for us, it's one of those things like if we are able to extend into the select board room, like it could be something that helps us supplement our programming, help us get organized so that we are able to go into that space. It might not be necessarily paying for programming like Memory Cafe, but things that are helping us support long-term programming within the senior center. One of the things I would love to do is extend the patio outside so it is more ADA accessible. To us, that's an additional programming space, especially with the grant we received the year before. We got about $20,000 from the state, so we have ADA accessible planters and picnic tables and that type of thing. We would love to be able to extend. That would be a perfect opportunity to utilize that grant.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else?
Your operational budget is $2,500 listed
Yes.
on there, but that doesn't include your programming, right?
Correct.
So approximately how much?
So for programming, I will say, I meant to mention this, I am extremely grateful. A lot of our programming that we have related to our watercolor art class, our card class, our Healthy Bones and Balance, they're all volunteer instructors. So say those things disappear, state formula grant would help us subsidize that. Right now, say Memory Cafe that we have, the performers run anywhere between $300 and $500, and then we're spending another couple $100 on food. That's just for one event, and I do my best. I go to Costco way more than I should.
That's what I was.
I will say it's hard because we try and put flyers up around town. Printer cartridges are so expensive, so for us to even just to like replace all of them, it's like $400. So a lot of it for what happens with the state formula grant is operational costs once that $2,500 goes away. I will say we probably spend between our instructors, we do pay for tech support, we pay for our instructor for our chair yoga and our line dancing, and then whatever gets collected for the class fees. It's $5 for each chair yoga participant, and then $3 for the line dancing. It helps offset some of those costs, but it's not guaranteed. Some weeks we have 17 people attending one class, and then depending if the weather's bad, it's 3. So we need the flexibility within the state formula grant, but that's kind of like a little bit of an outlier. We would love to have that set budget and not have to charge anybody to be able to attend those classes. So I would say probably about, in an ideal situation, $1,500 a month, just in terms of like what we're spending on supplies and programming and performances and food. And we want to be able to host people, especially if they're there for an informational talk, and it has to be over lunch. If it gets more people there because they're looking forward to having a meal, fantastic. If it gets more people inside, so our goal is just to be able to provide additional, as many resources to the town as possible, utilizing that budget. So.
If the outreach worker position isn't picked up by the town, what happens to that position?
Great question. I think we're going to have some hard conversations. That outreach, it's given how busy we are and how critical each of our staff are, it would be hard to pull away from, to be honest, to any one of them, or from any one of them. With the outreach worker position, things are getting harder for so many people, and there's less resources available out there. And so our goal primarily is to be able to go out, and Michelle does home visits, I've done home visits. We want to be able to go more into community spaces so that folks know what's available at the senior center. I would hate for a lot of those public benefits, programs, resources, and outreach to be eliminated, because that is not something, like that is a full-time job. Most senior centers have that as a full-time 40-hour position. So if we had to pull back on that 18-hour position, I think it would be catastrophic for our folks, to be honest with you. Just seeing what the need is. Our Shine appointments more than doubled. The fact that we have the SNAP outreach partnership and the 400 people, we are supposed to be, as part of the that relationship, helping to manage those caseloads. So taking those 18 hours away when she probably could work 30 it would be detrimental for the town.
Well, there's certainly been an increased visibility for the veterans in town.
Yes.
Because we have our VSO and outreach.
Yes, and I will say, I didn't realize how much overlap there would be related to, we've had more veterans come in town and come into the senior center knowing that there is a VSO role that's there, but that she's Shine certified. That is something, because I am not a veteran, I will never become qualified or trained to have, and there's hundreds of veterans in town, and a majority of them are over the age of 60. So we've kind of gone through this divide and conquer approach where she handles those folks, because I honestly can't. There's so much more overlap related to those positions and how much more beneficial it has been to our community. I think it's been phenomenal, and we've had so many more veterans coming into the senior center to participate in other programming outside of their veteran-specific programming. It's been a really good partnership.
So I just want to point out the obvious, though. You had a position that was funded, and now it's no longer funded. So it's a little bit of mission creep isn't the right word, but we had this come up once in a while where something's funded and then it's not, and the town has to step up. So there's an actual 85% increase in the budget from 25 to 26.
So
Right.
that budget, right, so that one that you're looking at,
Yeah.
that didn't include what we were funding for state formula grant or FRITA grant. It didn't include the COA earmark. So that was only what the town had been funding. This is what the town is funding in addition to the grant funding. It's all wrapped up.
Isn't that what I'm saying? The town's responsible for 121 last year?
No, so that's
No.
all the funds that come in. So grant money, external money
Okay.
from the state, everything. So that's the total actual budget of what's being spent.
All right.
So the grant money is
Is there a
offset.
piece, though, that's falling off that we're gonna have to fund, that we're being asked to fund?
Yes.
The outreach worker.
The outreach worker
big
is the
one.
primary.
So is that the difference between 131 and 121?
No.
It's grossed up. So it's going to fall out in revenue because you had recorded that in revenue. So you could, well, you just have to know that it's dropping out of revenue. So yes, overall with the offsets, it's up $27,000 or so.
So yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was,
Which is more than our 2.5% target. I will just make that observation.
And so just to piggyback on kind of Reggie's point, so can some of this 25K that can be used for programming, can that support that position? And maybe, we don't get the patio this year, but to keep the programs going in order to support the seniors? And that can
salary
be-
is not a
Okay.
component of that. It was
Okay.
very specific with
Okay.
that. So we were able to pay for performers, and that would be a salary, but we are not allowed to pay for COA salaries to offset that 25.
But could we pivot from what the state formula can pay? And you know what I'm saying? So like look at what the 25K can pay for, because it looks like some of those spends are similar.
Yeah, I think when it comes to the state formula grant, like it's very specific as to, at least with the Senator Gillis allocation for the FY26, so that 25 for programming and improvements, like we could technically pay probably a memory cafe performer through that, but that's it. So we'd still need all the additional costs related to the state formula grant in order to be able to support that programming.
And these are difficult conversations. Listen, if
No,
we had
I
all the
know.
money, we want to support the senior center.
It's hard because I think with the state formula grant, the goal is to be able to provide programming that is beneficial to our seniors and not necessarily subsidize salaries that aren't able to be supported by the town. And I know Scott has talked about this, especially with us, like the goal is for our salaries to not be contingent upon grant funding and whether or not that gets, because then if it doesn't get approved, half of our staff would have been wiped out, to be perfectly honest with you. Even the director's salary a few years ago was partially grant funded. And that was they were only at, I believe, 24 hours or 26 hours a week at that point. So,
But the purpose of these conversations is try to figure out ways to save salaries, and we don't know what the cherry sheets are going to look like next year.
Right.
We don't look like, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
to be creative at this table, to think of solutions, to keep, programming is essentially too, like, helping the people sign up for benefits and things like that. That's arguably programming as well.
Yes.
So
Yep.
just trying to be creative. If cuts do happen, how can we, make recommendations to keep at least the vital
Right.
services that are there going?
absolutely, and I do think the outreach worker and the volunteer coordinator, they're vital services for us, especially because they are the ones managing all of our, we have 70 plus volunteers. They're managing those folks, and they're also keeping us up and running with our reception area, and making sure that we are working through our senior tax work-off program. It's to me, it's critical for our folks in general. It's why we didn't ask for an increase with our operational expenses from last year. We felt as though if the money for the state formula grant can get freed up a little bit more, we're able to do more. Right now, we don't do more because number one, the space, and number two, the funds. We don't want to run down our funding, not knowing what's going to happen next year. So say the governor's budget doesn't get approved or gets approved at half, whatever we have left over is going to have to carry us over, and it's not that much. So.
Anybody else, any questions? Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you all. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
thanks for the presentation. Thank you.
Next up, we have running a little bit behind.
And
Health.
Board of Health, okay.
How's everybody doing? My name is Caitlin Rooks. I also missed the memo about doing a.
So, oh, you want to start everybody else's presentations rather than what you've given us. We're gonna get ourselves confused, right?
I didn't do a slideshow.
There, no, the
I
health
did a
budget is the
budget,
same, so there was a change to the council on aging.
Okay.
So I didn't do a slide deck, and I apologize. My name is Caitlin Rooks. I'm the chair of the Board of Health. And for all of you who have not met Claudia,
Claudia Sardi, new health agent. Nice to meet all of you.
she joined us in May.
No, it was mid-June, towards the end of June.
I don't know what's picking it up. It's in.
Right, HBC.
If it's not, I can just work on it. Okay, so I will start talking.
It might come, maybe it was slow.
There we go.
There you
Okay. So I did mine in the form of a budget book just because I thought that's what how we were supposed to submit the budget. So my apologies. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about what we do and our work, and then we can go into the budget. So we are part of a regional shared public health excellence program. So part of what we do is we are trying to leverage regional resources, and that is essentially how we are grant funded. So it's not like we get a specific allocation for Southampton. There's funding that goes through Northampton, and then we have 14 member communities that share resources. We currently are receiving restaurant and food establishment and food truck inspections through them. We have access to trainings. They're actually funding for me to go to a conference in a month for the Massachusetts Association of Health Boards. They're also offering regional trainings to help us to meet state standards. There's a whole new framework for Board of Health for compliance called SAFE 2.0 that's coming out. I'm going to a webinar about it next week, but they continue to raise the bar in terms of standards for training for Board of Health members. Claudia's going to have to go through a whole set of trainings for both food and housing inspections. So we're learning more about that process. Also challenging this is the fact that the state continues to cut funding for these programs. For example, we were supposed to have access to state inspectional software within the next 1 to 2 years, and that is now being dragged out for another couple of years because they essentially cut that funding in half. The federal government also is making a lot of changes to how public health is being funded. I'll keep my words short there. But there's a lot of uncertainty in terms of the long-term financial support through the Public Health Excellence Program. At this time, we're in the middle of a 5-year plan, but we don't know if that's going to continue beyond that. So we're a little bit hesitant to rely too much on the inspectional services, although we are limited to the food establishment inspections at this time. Their trainers, so they have 2 public health agents similar to Claudia that are able to do the inspections. They are trying to receive training on how to do septic inspections, but there's not really a lot of clarity on how they're going to be able to provide that those inspections across so many communities, just because there's such a demand for it. Claudia's able to do some of the.
Yeah, I am able to do the Title V inspections. In order to be able to do Title V inspections, you need to go through some rigorous coursework in becoming a Title V inspector. Mm-hmm. It's not an easy exam. It's not an easy course. Mm-hmm. We have to recertify every 3 years, which means attending conferences and getting CEUs. So putting a lot of people through a program just to become a septic inspector is very, very cost prohibitive to do that, and not many people are going to be able to do that. That's why we have people that we work with in the community that are septic engineers and contractors and can do that soil work, because not everyone can do it. Not everyone has the time to attend all of the coursework necessary even to become a soil evaluator. It's part classroom, and then there's part practical, and you have to pass both written and practical exams for that. Not everyone does. So
And it's like 2 years of wait just to even be able to get into those
just
classes.
to even be able to get on that list. So realistically, asking their inspectional services to take over Title V inspections wouldn't really work out very well unless everyone holds the necessary certification from the state to be able to do it.
And there's 2 people for 14 communities.
Yeah.
It just doesn't seem like it's going to be like within the next several years a solution for Southampton. We also are more heavily reliant on septic inspections than, say, Northampton, who has sewer, or Easthampton that has sewer. So it would be a bigger ask for Southampton in comparison to some of the other member towns. A couple other things that are managed through the Board of Health budget. We manage a Sharps program, so residents can pick up a Sharps container and dispose of it here. It helps protect sanitary workers and to reduce the likelihood of Sharps injuries. And that program is about $3,500 a year. The costs have gone up for that program, but we are trying to level fund our budget as much as possible. We found out actually yesterday or today that the mosquito control program, which is also a state program, is going to be not increasing their fees this year. They said remediation fees might be going up due to the increased cost of supplies like chemicals to treat mosquitoes, but for right now the cost remains $6,000 a year. And the landfill monitoring, I have not heard that there was going to be any change, but that was transferred from the transfer station into the Board of Health budget last year at $8,700 a year. In terms of other, we have office supplies for $3,000. Like none of that. We're just like requesting a level funded budget for all of that. In terms of our inspectional services, so Claudia's actually able to do a lot of health inspections, which is something that we previously, our health director did not really leave the office too much. Claudia's been spending quite a bit of time out of the office when she's able to. The challenge is that getting out of the office is proven to be really difficult, and so Scott has put into a potential override, which we're not sure if it's going to be funded or not, to support an administrative staff that would support both the building department and the Board of Health, so that Claudia would be able to get out and do more inspections.
Can I actually just talk on that for a second?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Under the health department budget, I am proposing a 16-hour-a-week admin assistant for a couple of reasons. For those who know Art, he's been volunteering for 10 years. He is going on 84 years old. He's literally been a part-time employee for the last 10 years for the town, for the building department. This position would be split, about 8 hours on average. It could be, a little bit more, a little bit less, depending on the seasons. But this would be an inspectional service administrative assistant. So it would take all the electronic permitting, the people that come into the office, anywhere from the Sharps program to plumbing inspections. So it would be the face and the first point of contact for those 2 offices for the most part.
I have a question about the Title V. So is that strictly under the Board of Health's purview, or does Ron do some of that? Because I thought he was like certified Title V. No,
He does do that. He holds
teaches classes.
He holds a license in that, and he has his own business for it. But that's not something that he does for the town.
Okay,
necessarily.
And so part of our challenge with coming up with the budget in terms of our reliance on contracted health inspection services is because we're also a little bit dependent on this override. Charlie's expenses were last year funded at $20,000, but we also had the revolving fund that was supplementing inspection costs. I obtained a report of last year's inspectional services, and because we adjusted our fee schedule, we actually brought in $63,000 last year, which was a pretty significant increase from the year prior, which also helped to offset some of the costs that were incurred with Charlie performing those inspections. We're hoping that Claudia is going to be able to take on some more of those inspections, but we do anticipate that we're still going to need some assistance with Charlie performing some of the inspections. We had budgeted $20,000 for problem properties, and I just want to talk about that a little bit. So there's a number of properties in town that have been in court for sometimes 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Condemned properties, houses that have burned down that require raising, boarded properties that are condemned that need to be boarded and secured for safety reasons. Some of these cases are taking an exorbitant amount of time in court, and we also don't collect fees for these problem inspections and for when we need to be in court, and sometimes this takes years to resolve and also many hours. Charlie's also been handling a lot of that. We'll say this year he was able to close a case that brought in $70,000 in back taxes to the town. So I just want to highlight there are some numbers that are not reflected directly in our budget because those funds go into the general fund, but we are able to recoup lawyer fees, administrative fees, because Charlie's managing those properties. And I honestly don't anticipate that several of these issues are going to be resolved even within the next year. So I think $20,000 for problem properties and then $20,000 for inspectional services seems reasonable. And that number is based upon his average invoice fee per month. I'll also mention that because of the way the revolving fund was eliminated, or it was eliminated, Charlie's funds for this 6 months actually are kind of stuck in the revolving fund and are going to need to be voted at town meeting to transfer out of that fund because it requires a town vote, which of course we didn't know that as a board. I don't know that the select board knew that either, but so at the end of the year, the funds are going to be transferred through the revolving fund with a town vote, hopefully, to pay the rest of Charlie's fees for the past 6 months. However, because that revolving fund was eliminated, that's going to need to be accounted for differently in the upcoming year budget.
Wasn't part of that being paid out of the septic betterment fund, or what was?
2 years ago, 3 hours of the health director's fees were covered out of the septic betterment funds, and because we determined that those hours were not actually being allocated 3 hours per week for septic betterment funds, that was eliminated, I believe, last year.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if I can maybe just go over the budget. The court.
Oh, yeah.
I just want to make sure everyone's on the same page.
So I just want to be clear, are you saying that right now the inspection fees are being paid out of a contract line, or is being paid out of?
So there was a $20,000 problem property line that has been exhausted, and the $17,000 we were expecting to be able to draw down on that, but unfortunately because of the way the Scott, maybe you can describe this better than I can,
so I can just go through the budget really quickly. Yeah. So for the budget, there's a slight increase for the expenses, licensing, professional development, things like that. For the Sharps program, that's level funded. For the mosquito control, that's going to go up. We don't have an exact number from the state yet, but we paid $6,000 last year. We don't expect it to exceed $7,000.
I thought Kate just said it was going to stay at $6,000.
That's what they told us today.
Yeah.
Today?
They told us, we just found out today that they don't anticipate that it's going to go up, but the cost of remediation may increase because of the cost of supplies, is what the email said.
And you were asking for level services or a level amount on the office supplies too, right?
I anticipated that it was going to be level funded, but
so we had. Okay. So for landfill monitoring, that is going to go up.
That will go up, yes.
Is that because of the PFAS?
Yes. Even though we were able to get a waiver from DP to reduce some of the gas monitoring there, because we are going to have to start adding in PFAS testing, that whatever savings we were going to see, we're not going to see. Mm-hmm. So while it may have knocked it back $1,000 or so, now we're going to see an increase anyway.
Almost double, though? That's the calculated increase is almost double?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Special consultants, we had at $20,000. Mm-hmm. That's for everything.
For Charlie's.
For, the special consultant, and then we have the salary line, which is still at 32, and it's supplemented by the
Septic.
WPAT septic.
Yeah.
The annual inspector stays level, and then this is the admin assistant shared between the building and the health department.
And that's not that split, that would come directly out of the Board of Health budget?
It would just be housed in the Board of Health.
Got it, okay.
Could I ask a clarifying question here? So I thought I heard you say that you wanted $20,000 just for maintaining the problem properties.
Correct,
And we're no longer including the revolving fund.
that's correct.
So you actually need another 20 in this budget.
I honestly think, based upon what we calculated, that it will be necessary. I'm also recognizing that if we don't get this override, then we're going to be at a deficit. Like, if we don't have that assistance, Claudia's not going to be able to get out into the community to be able to do the inspections. So I'm not sure where that gets accounted for in the budget, but it can't. I don't think both things are going to be possible.
So should we increase the special consultant line?
I think yes. I anticipated that we had actually calculated 43,000, but I feel like if we made it 40 and that we could make that work.
What is the issue with reinstituting the revolving fund? The idea I thought we had at one point in time was that the inspection fees would come from the revolving fund and it would pay for itself, which
it is, but
wouldn't.
now it's just going into the general fund.
Right. So traditionally, it's always been in the general fund. The Board of Health, generates over $60,000 in fees. When you have the revolving fund, that goes specifically just back to the Board of Health for them to use as they want.
right.
We have been following the recommendations of the select board for that, and we implemented at the suggestion of the select board, and then the following year, the select board recommended to get rid of it. We're just happy to do whatever you think is best, recognizing that honestly it doesn't really matter to us which line
The consultant hours
inspection
are
fees.
being offset. At least the 20,000
Yes.
is
Yeah,
for
20.
inspections. And if we don't budget for it, you're not going to be able to use that resource, and you're going to be stuck, whether you have the
Right.
administrative assistant or not,
Yeah.
having to fill
Exactly.
it.
Right, exactly.
So,
And I think it,
I think it's important to include that Charlie's expertise here has been invaluable. He's been doing the majority of the heavy lifting for us in terms of these court cases. There was a time where boards of health or agents like myself could bring a case into court and it wouldn't be a problem. Now we're being asked for legal representation to go with us, which increases, now we have to hire attorneys to go with us for these endless court hearings that may go on for a year or more or longer than that, depending. So having someone who is specifically dedicated to doing that job takes a great burden off of my departmental role as, being right now the agent and also trying to serve as the director and a secretary and an accountant, and I'm wearing a lot of different hats for one position that's at 35 hours a week.
I can say that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's. I really want to emphasize that having a consultant who is well versed in the court system is extremely important for us in order to move these cases forward and get them resolved.
Yeah.
So they're not constantly sitting out there.
So is a contractor a lawyer then? Is that the?
No,
Okay.
he's not. He's not a lawyer. I mean,
So he's helping with the. And are all the problem properties, are they vacant or are they?
they're not all vacant.
Do you guys look at receiverships or anything like that?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yeah. The Brickyard Road property, that was the junkyard, for lack of a better way of putting it.
Just got bought.
Yeah,
I live right around the corner from there.
We put that into a receivership program that got bought,
Yeah.
taken care of, cleaned up.
Yeah.
One more thing, that we don't have to deal with. We do have, ongoing court cases with people at road with.
But at what point do the court cases did you guys file petitions for receiverships instead of keep going down the?
If we see that there is no effort being made to correct violations within a specified time frame, and we have granted as much grace as we possibly can to those people.
Because the court's gonna grant graces when it goes in anyways, I know how, yeah.
Yeah, we try to accommodate as much as we can so that people can meet the deadlines. You know, there are always going to be, you know, roadblocks to making a specific deadline. But if this, you know, if something continues for 9 months without progress, and we've met and talked about it over and over ad nauseum, then okay, we're going to court with this, and, you know, we might have to put this property into receivership if we can't come to a resolution.
And the legal fees come out of your budget, Scott, so they don't have a legal fee line, it comes out of, okay.
Yeah. So that was gonna be my question, is where are we in terms, how does this impact the legal budget? Because obviously, we may be upfronting the cost, but I thought I heard you say that we recoup the legal cost, is that true?
Sometimes we recoup back tax. It might not be legal costs, but it could be back taxes. It could be the cost to board and secure the property that needed to be put up. Like we could regain those costs down the road. And usually it's like $5,000 to $10,000. And sorry, I see.
I'm right here if you want to.
Yeah, please.
So does Charlie generate like an invoice for every property? I mean, can
Yes.
you know exactly how
Yes.
much?
It's about $2,800 to $3,300 a month, for inspections and for these problem properties that don't generate inspection fees. His contracted rate is $60 an hour. Also, we'll say Charlie does a lot of work, pro bono, or he does a lot of office support time. He comes to all of our meetings. He doesn't get benefits, and he doesn't charge for all of his hours. So, and also we try to find ways to group inspections together whenever it's feasible. So, you know, to try to be as efficient as possible, knowing that a lot of these court cases are not efficient at all.
So Charlie does the board and secures then, or no, somebody else does that too?
Charlie?
Let me explain. The board and secure, the Board of Health issues the order for them. If they fail to do that, then I go to Scott, we talk about legal expenses, and then we decide if we're gonna have a private attorney working for the town or the Attorney General's office, because I partner up with the AG's office too. They'll issue a board and secure, and then we get into what's the receivership you're referring to. It can be a short receivership, which is just board and secure, or it can be a long receivership where the whole place is torn down, cleaned up, and repaired, or whatever.
And a lien's put on it until they either sell it and somebody else buys it?
A lien is put on it. First, the town is priority lien. So any back taxes and expenses the town incurred is set right on it. The receiver gets a super lien, which is put on there. If they don't pay that within a few months, then the receiver, like their neighbor, takes and auctions off the property, or gets an order from the court to sell the property. So then what happens is, it's sold within that year, and that money comes back to the town for whatever, you know, back taxes and stuff like that. My costs typically don't come back, but every case is unique. And depending on how we handle it and what the circumstances are, some of them, the money actually does come back to the town. Scott had for a few years a account that the building department had for board and securing, and we would go to court and get a court order, and we get the money reimbursed back on that money that was spent, so it didn't cost the town that money. The problem with this is it's very complicated, and just so you understand how I function, Southampton is not the only client I have. I work for the city of Northampton, I work for Chester, Huntington, Hatfield, and then I try to stop because it's just too many. But the reality is I have court cases on all of them and help them out. And because I do it that way, that's why I only charge $60 an hour, because I can consolidate everything and keep it rolling.
Just as a question, you've done a great job cleaning up a lot of these crazy properties that have been sitting around forever.
Well, I'm looking at my old slides in my computer. And what am I coming up with? Russell Newhouser?
Oh my! I was going to ask, with the idea that we might have to keep on doing court stuff for the ones that you've still got
Yes.
out there that aren't
Yes.
finalized yet, right? And you've got a couple that have been finalized, but
Yes.
others that aren't.
Yes.
Are we trying to just sort of pick out like maybe 3 or 4 high priority properties that we will focus on and not
Sometimes they
I'll
find
be the-
us. Sometimes they
yes.
find us, and people come to us and file a complaint. And once you file a complaint, sometimes it's a Pandora's box. I will tell you, we do discuss in meetings trying to balance, okay, how much can we manage right now? Is it slow season so we can take on a little bit more? There's some properties, for instance, Valley Road, we gave them a year to address the issue, and then, here we are coming back to it a year later. So you obviously want to give people the time of day. Also, you want to be considerate of their individual circumstances. We just had a family meeting where there was some unsafe conditions in the home, and the mom that was affected had just had a stroke, right? So you have to really, we as a board really try to take into consideration the need, ability, and finances of that family, and really try to avoid things going to court whenever possible, because it's just going to take everybody more time and resources. Go ahead, Charlie.
And Chris, the other part of the problem is like 148 Middle Road. It's a house fire.
Yeah.
The woman's 94 years old.
Right.
She has no insurance.
Yeah.
Specifics.
Yeah, be careful.
And-
Getting into.
But the point is, it gets to the point where it lands on our desk.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
And the number of problem properties I don't believe are ever really going to slow down, because so much of it is complaint driven by the community. And if you don't respond, then or you don't respond in a timely manner to the concerns of people, then the complaints continue to come in, and you get backlogged with them. And as you're trying to explain, well, we're trying to get there.
Yeah.
It's a balancing act.
Also, just mention, this proposed solar project. I personally have been trying to figure out where our role is going to be in this. None of these things are fast and are going to involve the Board of Health quite a bit in terms of inspectional responsibilities. And so I feel like I anticipate, and Massachusetts is anticipating, that there's only going to be more of those proposals, and none of them are simple, and they are going to take a lot of time. I know we're running short on time. I also want to mention, just because this does affect the select board, that there is a newly formed committee to try to think about how to best utilize opioid settlement funds. This is something that we've kind of just I feel like we've gone in circles about. There's been some changes in leadership at Hampshire Hope and within the Northampton program, but I started going to those committee meetings, and I'm really emphasizing the importance of having a regional approach to administering those funds, because no one town can have a 7-person committee on how to just administer those funds. So I am trying to advocate for us thinking about this because of our school district and not because of just Southampton. And so I am planning on trying to report back with any new information, but just know that that's a monthly meeting that we're attending. And there also has been a restructuring for our region of the medical coordinating coalition, because Northampton actually pulled out of that. So now there's going to be 2 committees. There's going to be one within Northampton, and then one of all the other communities around Northampton. And we also participate in all of those meetings too. And that's to support regional disaster preparedness initiatives. And so I'm also making sure that we take into consideration the needs of Southampton and our region, while acknowledging that none of this is efficient when you take one meeting and you split it into 3 different meetings. But of course, these are all just things that we do as volunteers in our in-between spare time. Any questions, additional thoughts? Anyone? I know we're out of time.
I guess just one comment.
Yes.
I looked at FY26 expenses that Bradley most recently sent, and it looks like the consultant's line is at about 19,000, 20,000, give or take. So understand and not questioning the value of Charlie's work, but is 100% increase really what you need, or is there some middle ground there?
If you look over the past couple years, there's no one way to look at how the Board of Health budget has been managed, because we've had a change in employees. We were funding part of our budget through ARPA for a little while, through the septic betterment funds. I literally lose track of the year to year on how we've gotten created to fund our budget. Do I think that it's possible that we could reduce his I also want to balance it to expense.
What I'm saying is, right, forget the revolving fund and everything else.
Yes.
If you look at what was expensed through today,
Yes.
give or take, whatever.
It's 19-ish.
Yeah.
But that's without the past few months, right?
That's correct.
So that's without, because because we thought that we were going to be able to use the revolving fund account until it was
But I think
gone.
Bradley was still recording the expenses to that line.
Oh, okay,
'Cause I
that's
don't-
helpful to know.
I'm just saying, maybe I'm wrong with that assumption, but I don't see any other line items where that is against, and we didn't have the revolving fund. I don't think Bradley would have applied to that revolving fund balance. So it looks like, through this month, give or take a month or so, you spent 19,000. So, you're doing a lot more inspections, and I think compared to the previous director, that wasn't the case. I recognize that there may be a need for some of these problem properties to increase, but is 100% increase knowing that you're picking up more? Is that a reasonable ask when we know the budget constraints that we're up against?
I don't see it as a 100% increase because it's still, we've been using those funds for Charlie's expenses for a couple of years now. Like he's always,
So you're still drawing from the revolving fund?
we are unable to draw from the revolving fund until the end of the year because we didn't know that there needed to be, Scott, you
So
can explain this because
with
it
the-
came
with
as
the
a
revolving
surprise to
fund,
us.
That's no longer being active and needs to have town meeting approval to use the funds.
And we just we were under the impression that he could continue using those funds to pay for his inspectional services. We had no idea that we couldn't use those. So the plan is to, at the end of the year, to transfer those funds to cover Charlie's expenses.
So are we saying that we have deficit spent and we have invoicing above what's been recorded?
Yes, currently we owe Charlie a little over $8,000.
Okay, so that would help with the comparison. So then it's actually, $30,000,
Yeah,
give or take.
and I
has
have
been the
not even
consulting
received his
expenses.
invoice for this
Okay.
month yet, so,
Well, that helps the comparison.
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Questions? Anything else? Any other budget line items to go through?
I think that's, our budget's actually really simple and short. Okay,
Okay, good.
thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you. All right. Library, next up.
Such a nice lady. I don't know if I should.
I only have a few in color.
Okay.
The rest got.
I'll still it.
Yeah, still, if you share the color ones look fast, you can share those ones around.
I know, I was thinking.
Hi.
Okay.
This is Andrew.
Yeah, brand new in the job in a way, and we put you right in front of the firing squad.
I'm very excited to be here. I'm Andrea LeClaire. I am the interim director at the library. And what I'm handing around to you is a lot of numbers. And actually, I handed one of my copy to you. Can I have one back? Oh, well, thank you. I get a color one, thank you.
This is what we have.
Yes. This is a year's worth of data from the library. I'm going to go over just a few of the numbers to highlight what we've been able to do. But the overall picture I want to share, well, that one might be mine.
Oh,
Was that yours?
Nope, it's yours.
I just came from the Friends meeting too. I'm sorry, that's my Friends agenda. The overall picture that I want you to take away from these numbers is what we're able to do with a level services budget. So my favorite one is right in the middle, 15,283 visits to the library. And that's in a year. I did a calendar year rather than a fiscal year, although I am certain that it would even out to be about the same. We had 48,237 total circulations. That's basically something that someone has borrowed from the library. Because it's important to remember that we're more than just books. We provided 1,976 hours of Wi-Fi. It is also available in our parking lot if anyone ever wanted to come by for after hours. It's honestly very useful. We had 364 users on public computers, so that's almost a user a day, more than we would be open. Our Library of Things, which is the collection of items that are tools and single-use items that you would borrow so that you don't have to buy a drill or a sewing machine, have gone out 219 times. This is the first year of our collection, and it was grant funded from the Department of Environmental Protection, and we're hoping in the coming year to add 2 more of it.
Can we get an inventory of available things?
Yes. It's partially on the website, but come by and I can give you a tour. There's a label maker. The label maker is very popular.
I've read that they do that more in some of the Scandinavian countries. They do that quite a bit to save.
Yeah.
It's a great idea. It's wonderful.
Single purpose buy something that you really
It's exactly it. It's really incredible. There are lots of libraries across our network too who can loan things like instruments, and that's open to everybody who has a library card in town. One of the things I want to highlight with our volunteer community, we have over 1,000 volunteer hours. We have an incredible group of volunteers who, in some cases, we rely on to provide some of the critical library services. 2,177 registered borrowers is a number that we include to sort of, it's a general idea of Southampton people who have a library card. If you live in Holyoke and use the Southampton Library, you're counted in Holyoke statistics. But if you look at a number, it is about a quarter of the town. About a quarter of the town has a library card. And it would be great if we could get even more people to come in. But that is, and for a small town, that is an enormous number. It's a wonderful, supportive community that we have. We also, as a part of our participation in our library network, which is it's the CW Mars network, if you've heard the acronym. What that is we are a member library with libraries through Central and Western Massachusetts, and it allows patrons to order books or anything from Central and Western Massachusetts libraries throughout the state. So basically, if there's something you're looking for, we can get it for you. And it's what allows us to have the databases, the ebooks, if you use our ebooks and the audiobooks, that's all part of our participation in that network. And I'm highlighting that also because in terms of our services, there's a calculation that relates to the minimum things we have to meet in order to be a part of that. But that allows us to have access to, our patrons to have access to 65,000 ebooks, e-audiobooks, magazines, and you can use your library card, your Southampton library card or your other library card at any library in Central and Western Massachusetts you can just visit, of course, because you can visit a library, but you can check out materials, you can go to Worcester and borrow a museum pass for the Worcester Museum of Art, and that's part of the benefits of being a part of our community library. We also loaned 6,731 items to other libraries, which shows that we are not only participating in receiving the benefits of that network, but we're able to meaningfully contribute to it. To highlight just a couple of things that we've done this past year that are wonderful additions to reshaping and rethinking what the library can be. That Library of Things, which allows materials that you simply don't need to keep, or the metal detector that you really don't want to buy but you'd like to test out sometime. We've implemented a home delivery service, which thankfully we've only needed to use a couple of times, but it's available for any patron who, for whatever reason, needs library materials either picked up or brought to them while they're infirm or laid up or something like that. It's been wonderful to be able to offer that service. The sensory garden, which at the moment is very dormant and under all the snow. If you're coming in, if you haven't been recently, if you come in to the library headed straight towards Conant Park, it is on the left. It will be its first full season in the spring, so the things that were early planted will be coming up. That was grant funded from the American Library Association. There's a walking path around it, and it's meant to be sensory friendly for all people. It's meant to be a touch and smell, and when there are tomatoes in the raised beds, taste garden experience that just brings the library outside too, so that we are not just an indoor space. You can come and experience. We have received in a donation an honorarium for one of our beloved patrons, a bench that is about to be assembled, and that's going to go under the tree, then facing the garden. And it's just being able to memorialize that and remember that patron, and also providing a wonderful place for people who maybe don't know and just want to walk through and just pass right through the little path and take a moment in the middle of their day and say, you know what, the library can also give us this moment outside. It's on the back of some of your fact sheets, but we are starting a new coffee hour. It will be Tuesday mornings at the library. It is meant to be drop-in for conversation, for just getting out in the world. This is also partially grant funded through the Association of Rural and Small Libraries as a part of battling loneliness and fostering community connection. We're hoping to be able to support local businesses and having some snacks and just creating another space that you don't have to pay to attend to. You can just stop into the library and have some coffee and hang out for as long as you want and use the Wi-Fi, and that costs you nothing. And that is also important to highlight. None of our services cost patrons anything. Everything is free. Usage of our community room is free. We even are a non-fining library, which means that if you have an overdue book, we're not charging you fines, because that's punitive and it makes people stop coming to the library because they feel bad. I
have an overdue book right now.
No, that's fine. Bring it back and it'll be absolved. We don't mind.
Okay.
No, that's fine. When I mentioned when I was talking about the participation in the CW Mars network and talking about a minimum, both the network and our allowance of a state grant, which is usually about $10,000, it's service and population based. The state grant essentially pays for the CW Mars membership. That is a calculation of the amount that the town gives us as a budget total. A percentage of that has to be spent on materials. And so what we ask for generally is the close to or the full amount of that percentage to be included as part of the town budget. So that allows us to get the state grant that allows us to participate in the network, which vastly increases the amount of resources. So in the budget request, it's gone up about $2,000. That's still, I call it level, we consider it level services because it is level in terms of the calculation of how you get to that number. So it's unnecessarily complicated sometimes in figuring it out, but basically it's about 19% of the total budget that we are awarded needs to be spent on library materials. It's honestly a very small, very reasonable amount. And that is most of what we ask for. That is where beyond that salaries and our maintenance and utilities, that makes up the heart of our budget request.
Angie, just a quick question on the salaries. There was an additional 5 hours for the youth librarian?
Oh, so that is not for the level request. That is if we have the override. If that is something that you can see, I did a calculation if we were allowed to ask for more in an override budget. it would be, the youth librarian position is currently 30 hours. Adding 5 hours would allow the youth librarian to work on a Saturday, which would, again, vastly increase the amount of programming that they would be able to do for the availability of families.
Scott, are we gonna have two budgets, the level funded one and the override one to consider, or?
Well, the level fund is going to be from.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was the dream
Okay,
one.
I just didn't know, because sometimes that's how communities present it, like, this is level funded, this is if we pass or override, what, you know?
Yeah, we're gonna have to do two budgets, one as an override and one with
Okay.
reductions.
Thank you.
So.
So what are we looking at for most of these departments? Are they the ones with the override or without the override?
These are at level services plus some improvements that could be possible.
So these are override ones, probably.
Without an override, it'll be without an override, there will be reductions, significant reductions everywhere.
So this reflects the current personnel that are there?
No, so this would be additional 5 hours for the youth library, and this would be a requested new position as a library technician at 10 hours.
That is part of what I mentioned earlier when we're having volunteers. They are allowing our building to be open by being there for several shifts so that a single person isn't there alone. Also, having that position would, in the end, save us money in our substitute budget, because at this time we probably use at least 8 hours a week of substitute coverage every week, which could easily be filled by a position. And it's because of, in terms of when we need a substitute, we have to have someone else there to keep the building open. Otherwise, we run what we can with what we can, but having a regular person who is in position to know the community, to provide services across multiple departments would be, in the long term, an ideal situation for saving us money in substitutes and providing better long-term service, so that you're not getting someone who said, well, can you come back later and then we can help you.
I'm sorry. If you did have to choose between the library technician or more hours to the youth librarian, which one would you choose?
Probably the library technician. While the youth librarian, because it is a 30-hour position as it is, it's essentially the second staff person. So having an additional staff person takes some of the pressure off of scheduling. If there's one person who's there multiple hours who's out versus someone who's there 2 hours and then could step in an occasion, I think that would give us the best long-term benefit.
The 8 hours a week for the substitutes, is that like a single day coverage? Is that, how is that spreading, that you're having 8 hours recurring every day?
So it's for coverage for the time off, sick time and vacation for our benefit staff people.
Okay.
So it is not anything unpredictable. It is so the youth librarian, one of our part-time people, and the director are benefited positions. And so in just regularly covering a Saturday shift when the cataloger takes a Saturday off, you need to have someone come in.
Okay.
And that's why thinking about having, for example, the youth librarian position added onto a Saturday, in that case, if there are 3 people scheduled for Saturday, one person takes a day off, you don't have to have a substitute. So it's not, it is only covering normal benefited time off.
Thank you.
How many hours a week is the library open?
We are open 37. Let me do the math quickly in my head.
Not open on Sundays, right?
No, we're not open on Sundays. We're open Saturdays for essentially the morning.
Right.
And we're open 2 evenings a week. So that's 10 to 4, 6.
With this, so if I'm understanding the 68,000 up above, that's what requesting the town for your operational costs, is that right?
Yep.
Yes.
This is the operational budget.
The operational budget there. Now, you've outlined numerous grants, so kudos for getting these grants, number one. How does that help offset some of that? Or these are things that you're doing in addition to what your normal stuff is? Because I think you've just got a huge, well, relatively huge grant, right?
Yes, yes, it is. In addition, the grants are project-based, primarily. A lot of library grants are year-long project-based, and they often have a specific focus. Like the sensory garden was for disability accessibility.
Right.
The grant that we received from the Association of Rural and Small Libraries is for food literacy and for a connection to the community.
What's the new one you just got for 19,000?
Oh, that one is it is actually the value is in materials, and it's for technology.
Okay.
Which is wonderful. We're going to be able to replace some of our public computers, have laptops and hotspots and tablets that are available for patrons to use, which is incredible. Yes,
So a lot of that is special. It doesn't help to cover any cost. You can't take some of that grant money and use it for some other operational cost.
No, unfortunately. We do get the support of our friends group.
Yeah.
They, I would say, primarily are the sole funding source for any programming that we do. They fund the entirety of our summer reading program. None of our budget, but there's not a separate programming line. So the programming that we are able to provide.
Just ask, because I didn't see any programming up there. No, where's your programming money coming from? Okay.
It is, yeah. It comes from at the moment from fundraising. I would be again ideal to be able to have a programming line, but the amount that is set aside for books and materials is the minimum amount that we have to spend on books and materials. I cannot take that and put it to anything else if we were to still be able to qualify to receive the state grant, which allows us to be part of the network.
Right, yeah. Do you have a sense of how much the value is of the Friends contribution to the program?
I mean, it's certainly for summer reading, it's anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 for funding. We do get some donations. Done fundraising from local businesses is usually a contribution of $50 to $100. For adult program, I mean, I would say in total probably between $4,000 to $5,000 depending on a given year from the Friends.
Just trying to get an idea of how important the Friends groups are to many of our groups in town.
They are incredible. Our Friends group does very specific project-based fundraising as well. So right now they're doing, if you wanted to come in for a raffle, they're doing the I Love Your Library Month, and it's 7 tote bags full of treasures, and that will probably something that and the book sale fund summer reading.
Right.
I have a question based off of something that Chris said. So like the 19,000 that you're going to buy laptops and hotspots and things like that, essentially would that be books and materials though? And could that hit that number? No, it's not. Okay.
It could. No,
just for like creatively for this year.
Yes.
We're looking to cut money this year, and that could be added to books and materials, and then will that freed up 19,000 that we could fund the position, or so just.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
yes.
so it
Yes,
cannot, that
unfortunately, it
19,000, even though it's materials that are going to be checked in and out, it's a separate.
It is separate because of the terms of the award of the grant. It isn't contributing. They don't consider it contributing to, even though we will be circulating them. It is a lump
Special
sum.
category.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes, you can fund the minimum requirement supplementally through some amount of fundraising, which we have had to do in previous years. We have fundraised or asked the Friends, for example, to take something from the programming and put it towards that minimum requirement. But ultimately, what happens is that we still have to meet that minimum, and then we're borrowing money from somebody that could have been used for another service.
If I remember correctly, in past years, we raised concerns about, having the minimum appropriation requirement fall on the donations. And I think we tried to step up and have that fully funded by the town.
That would be the best situation, because it is the very minimum and it is the majority of our budget aside from salary. And because we fund so much else through donations and fundraising, we'd love again to be able to rely on that for something like programming or for adding something to the sensory garden. every grant that we have, we will spend down as much as we can. But yes, being able to take the burden of that off of fundraising would allow the fundraising that our groups can do to go towards other things that aren't aligned in our budget.
I guess what I'm saying is, I thought that last year in the budget, we did do that. I thought that, so you may be allocating in a certain way, but I thought that the budget numbers were such that all the minimum amounts were being met from the town.
In fiscal year 2025, it was. In fiscal year, so we're going towards fiscal year 2026, it was under by $1,500. Yes. So again, we were very, very close, and we were able to thankfully make that up.
So is this 44,000 the full 19%?
Yes.
I have a concern about the utilities and level funding it for 3 years in a row. I know my utilities haven't been level for 3 years in a row. Is 13,000 realistic?
I know for last year, which is the budget that I'm most familiar with, as looking at the comparison of last year, is that our utilities jumped a lot and we ended up taking money from another fund to cover them.
So then no.
So then no. So it is, utilities are expensive and occasionally unpredictable.
What would you recommend the utilities to be?
I mean, maybe the 24 number just for, I don't know.
So I guess
We did the LED project, so I should say.
I'm gonna.
That was 7,000 for the LED project.
Bradley through February has $6,000 spent, or $7,000 spent of the FY26 13,000 budgeted. So maybe there's stuff going elsewhere, but we're more than halfway through the year and we're only at 55%.
Yeah, that's on track for 100% usage in line with that number, so.
Yeah. I mean, if the rates don't change, the amount, that calculation is based on our bills, assuming that nothing changes. So, I mean, I guess it could wishfully be realistic.
For the energy people, though, what an amazing savings by replacing. I mean, that's amazing. And they say those programs do pay themselves, and that's evidence of it. So
that was the Mass Save program.
Yeah,
that we
that's
did.
great.
We did these too.
Yeah, that made a huge difference.
Wow.
And we get lots of compliments, people saying that the lighting is so nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to discourage from getting an accurate number there, but I also don't want to just pull a number out of the hat.
Oh,
just
yeah, no,
because
absolutely.
of how we're trending so far.
Right. Yeah, that green community grant really.
All right,
My
this-
only concern is that you do a lot of programming. Your fact sheet is essentially all about programming, and it doesn't show up. And that story is important to be told. It doesn't fit neatly in the budget, but it needs to be called out. And it's pretty clear the way you've conceptualized it. All of your programming relies on fundraising beyond what the town provides in this budget. It's clear and straightforward, but it's not on that page.
Yeah, I appreciate that observation. Thank you very much. Yes, it is, for all of the programming that we're able to do, we are able to just make the most of the resources that we have, and we're lucky to have the fundraising support. But in terms of keeping our budget manageable, and especially looking into a difficult budget season, the minimum amount that we have has to go towards those materials, and then as long as we can keep the lights on, we can keep doing what we've been doing.
Well, you have 13,000.
Yeah, let's hit that. Well, it'll be great.
All right. I have a question. This may be unfair because I haven't asked anyone else this question, but knowing the difficulties we're going into for the budget, what are the minimum requirements to meet the state requirements and the funding requirements, right? Because it's obviously, it's smaller than this. What do you have to get? If something, push comes to shove, what's the minimum to meet the requirements?
For the amount?
Yes.
It is actually the 44,000.
Okay. But there's also,
there's
there's a separate funding calculation as well. It looks at the 3-year rolling average, right?
Yes, yes. So that one is the, it's honestly, if you look at the 3-year rolling average, it's more. But this is the level of services amount that could get us through the next year.
Okay.
There are also requirements that are about hours open and how much staff you have, and amount of materials based on the size of your population, all of which we have no problem meeting.
Good. Yeah, the question stemmed from, I think it's extra important here that we meet, because if we fail to meet those funding requirements, we're going to lose, above and beyond, so.
Okay, nobody else has questions? Thank you very much, Amy.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it, thanks very much. All right.
I'm not recorded.
Okay, we won't.
I am camera on call notes.
Yeah, Chris, you just have to adjourn, and then you can continue, just can't deliberate, because you're below quorum.
Okay.
Why don't you take this? David left that in the bathroom.
No, I won't be.
What is it?
It's been in there since last week.
I think it's the key for the sanitizers.
Oh.
I hope it's that, or it's your
Okay, next up, Randall. Highway Department, here we go. Thank you for being so patient and waiting for us.
Okay. My budget is a little more involved.
USB or HD?
I don't know what works. You tell me. I think it's the USB.
There are a few things that have been added on that we got to talk about on Randall's budget for current fiscal year and next fiscal year. So.
Good evening.
Excuse me. Thank you.
That's the right one. I don't think it is.
Use the remote to select.
There you go.
Get started on
Okay. I don't love PowerPoint.
You look like you did a great job.
This is my first PowerPoint since college, which was many moons ago. Okay, so I will try to make this as quick as I can. We can go as granular as you want after. But what we do, roadway maintenance and construction, snow and ice control, vegetation and obstruction management, stormwater and environmental compliance, town property and grounds maintenance, transfer station services, fleet facilities and equipment management, and permitting and interdepartmental support. So, I mean, I could talk a half an hour about each one of these.
Transfer station will be a separate enterprise budget.
Yes. But I'll just keep moving on. To do all of that, we have myself, 2 foremen, 2 truck drivers, and 1 laborer, and a part-time administrative assistant. We remain with 2 vacant positions and 1 vacant mechanic position, 2 truck driver equipment operators and 1 mechanic. The last time we were fully staffed was 2018. I've felt like I've been drowning, and we need to do something different. Scott and I have been talking about what that is, but keeping all the balls in the air and doing the job of a superintendent and a DPW director is a lot, and I don't want things to fall through the cracks, and that's what's going to happen.
Right, just to be clear, so we've got potentially 9 full-time positions, of which 6 are filled, is that correct?
8 full-time positions, part-time administrative assistant, and myself. So I mean, yeah, 9.
Yeah, okay.
And we did change, there was a mechanic position. This year we changed that from mechanic to labor.
Oh, okay. So the mechanic position is
was reduced. So we probably won't hire a mechanic and we just transition that to a labor position.
And what will you do? You'll sub out the services for?
That's
okay.
what we've been doing. My foremen are pretty good at kind of triaging what they can handle, and then we farm out what we can't. It's the only way we can do it.
Okay.
I'm gonna kind of jump around because the snow and ice is the reason why I don't have as slick a PowerPoint presentation as my colleague, Chief Illingsworth. So on the left here, you can see we've had 20 events so far this year. Pretty involved if you look at the man hours per event. I kind of blocked them out, so it'll, you know, the top is blue is one event and the next one is white and so on. Right now we're in a deficit of $6,681. I have projected that by the end of the winter, with base salaries for 4 more payrolls and the salt that I already have on order, we will be over close to $100,000.
Do you guys do all the plowing, or do you have subs that plow for you?
I have call-in guys who only come in for storms and use our equipment, and I have a bullpen of those people depending on the storm. I might call in more, I might call in less. I've been jumping in the truck a lot to do sanding, so we use them less for treatment events. But for plowing, it's usually all hands on deck to get everything opened up so people can get to work. We sub out the municipal sidewalks, the school, and the walks around Town Hall. That's all covered under one contract. This is the cost of winter. I know anybody who's been on the finance committee for more than a couple of years always hears me hit the drum of we should be funding winter snow and ice control accounts at a level that meets what we usually spend. Got a linear trend line there in the red, but the green is what we've been funded at in the past. Level funded because of the mechanism where if you declare an emergency, you can deficit spend, so on. The purple is what we actually spent per winter, and you can see the cost keeps going up. Infrastructure projects, we have a bunch of big ones going on in town. We've got a Safe Routes to School project on Pomeroy Meadow from the intersection with 10 to the school. We're putting in, extending the shared use path that goes along Route 10 around the corner and up to the school. The sidewalk that ends at the Pomeroy Meadow intersection that goes in front of the cemetery will be extended up and catch the 3 subdivisions that are on that side of the road and provide safe crossings for the kids to get to school. That is grant funded with help from the grants committee. But the town does have responsibility there. We're responsible for right-of-way acquisition, which includes things like title search, appraisals if there's any takings for easements that are necessary, legal, recording, and anything that I forgot to mention. The next project is East Street reconstruction. This is a project that's been going for longer than I've worked here. It's gone through a couple of iterations, but it's going forward now. Because the cost has escalated over the years and we're using TIP funds for the construction, we have phased this project to extend from the intersection down here with Route 10 up to Whispering Meadow. We got the bridge replaced, partially funded by a MassWorks infrastructure grant a couple of years ago. The new reconstruction will fix some alignment issues, provide a shared use path on one side and a sidewalk on the other for part of it. And this is an important project, not only because East Street has been a constant point of complaint from residents, but with the last project here, the Greenway coming up, I think it's important to provide as much pedestrian safety as we can to the bike trail. So there are issues with East Street in that, again, the design has been funded by Chapter 90. The TIP will cover the construction cost because we can't swing the $10.8 million that it's projected to cost. We are responsible, like I said, for the design and right-of-way acquisition again. The issue with East Street is there are 69 affected properties that will potentially need easement.
So just, that's one of the things I had mentioned that we're gonna have to have a discussion. So these projects are, going on for the last 4, 5, 6, 7 years. One of the things that wasn't taken into account was the acquisition costs for the safe streets, safe routes to school, the Greenway, and the East Street reconstruction. And a lot of that will be, it could reach into the 6 figures.
I was just gonna ask, do you have like an estimate of like per acquisition? Is it like $2,000, like for recording fees, things like that?
There's gonna be a base for at least, a minimum several $1,000s just for our attorney to do that. Larger takings would obviously cost a lot more money. If someone objects to something or decides to go through the legal process, that could cost a lot more money. So we're working on getting an estimate. It'll be next fiscal year, but the reality is, the town's going to have to fund that one way or another. Do we want to look at it, funding it through a general fund, putting some more money in potentially through the override, or do we want to take it from the Chapter 90 funds, which is money that Randall uses for street maintenance, potholes, curbs, those types of things. So it's going to be a balancing act, and that's going to be a decision that you'll have to make.
Do we have to move forward? Can we cut it?
At this point, we're too far into it.
We would be foolish to do so. We've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on this project already to keep it moving. It's been a priority of the select board for a while now. And like I said, it's important for me to provide the safest path to that bike trail that we can, and the bike trails going forward too. So.
Well, and East Street is one of our main thoroughfares across town.
It is, yeah. And it expands our walkable network in a logical way. We connected some with the sidewalk in front of the cemetery. We're expanding the one up to the school. We're trying to do things in a logical way to make Southampton more walkable and safer. So another project we have coming up is the Pomeroy Meadow Bridge. I don't have as much to say about this because we're still working through ownership and potential cost savings. And then the Greenway, like I said, the Greenway is really being pushed by the Greenway Committee, but I communicate with the engineer quite often about specific design issues that affect the highway department, like East Street interface.
Scott, is there a potential instead of like, okay, because we keep talking about this override, but we don't know, like it's ambiguous at this point, right? Because we don't know if an override's going to pass or not. However, what about short and long-term borrowing? Like I know, like, because we're working with the DLS and like these types of projects with a capital improvement plan, it makes sense. You know what I'm saying? To look at short and long-term borrowing where, because that burden goes away unlike an override. So I think it's more palatable to the taxpayers, and I think it's something that for this level of big projects that we need to look at as a select board and a finance committee, in my opinion.
Let me go to my next. Or you can answer.
Well, with our debt, most of our debt, other than this year, because we had a short-term borrow for the heating system for that, but the majority of our debt is through debt exclusion. So once that goes off, it doesn't come back to the revenue.
Right.
The only non-debt exclusion that we have is a loader from a few years ago, and then we have the highway system. So the capital plan that I'll be presenting, major projects wouldn't be able to fit into that. So it'd still be palatable to the voters.
Okay.
So right now, our current Chapter 90 balance is $1.2 million. We have, and I'll give a little bit on we get about 315,000 per year, but in the past 3 years, the governor has put supplemental funds in, so we've got more than double, and that's really helped bolster our balance. I held off last year on doing much pavement work to see where the bridge went, because again, it's got to be paid for somehow, and I don't want to spend it on some of these projects, but I understand in the financial position we're in, we may have to not invest in pavement preservation work in order to make some of these other projects happen. So where we're at, well, we have 7,000 left of a 426,000 design contract. That got us to 25% design. We will need an updated proposal to get to 100% design, bidding, and construction phase engineering. Typically, this is paid for with Chapter 90 funds. Right away acquisition costs of the projects I spoke of before as a potential. I mean, this is all stuff that we could think about using Chapter 90 for. I don't necessarily want to, because if you don't put the money back into your roads, you're losing ground and they're degrading. So bridge evaluation and rehabilitation on Pomeroy Meadow. And I always like to keep a little in contingency for the unknown, just in case a road washes out, something like that. So again, my preference is to do pavement preservation. To give you an idea how fast the money goes though, this is kind of what I've spent Chapter 90 money on in the past 5 years. Pomeroy Meadow Road, just paving that. I did some milling of it, 291,000. You could see these, like mill and fill of Hillside Meadow, County Road, Pleasant Street, and chip seal on 2 roads is 545,000. Chip seal of 2 roads, Russellville and Foamer, 220,000. And then we used some for the East Street construction phase services, 69,000. 2023, we signed the 25% design for that reconstruction, which was 426. And last year, or 2024, sorry, did a pretty ambitious pavement program, got a lot of streets done, milled and filled, and 758,000. So that's where I'm at with the grant money we get.
What's the Chapter 90 money allocation for 2027?
We don't know yet.
Okay.
That won't be announced. The 2026.
That wasn't on the cherry sheets?
No.
Okay.
I can tell you it won't be enough.
Okay. Oh, well, yeah.
No. Where is? I'll show you some of further information.
90 is a completely separate fund that doesn't go.
It doesn't go, okay.
When I talk about our equipment, this is.
It didn't switch, right?
How do I get it to switch, Scott? Do I have to close the PowerPoint?
I think it's go back to your PowerPoint. Yeah, the PowerPoint. Right there. There you go. Now you can switch it. Should be able to.
I'm just going to close
I think
that.
if you do the window,
I can always
it deletes. Yeah, it goes.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is my vehicle fleet. We have 14 pieces of large equipment and trucks that we have to keep on the road. You'll see that we have made some good improvement on replacing some pieces, but I don't want to take our foot off the gas. Scott has got a pretty good plan for capital to keep us going in the right direction. My mechanical costs, I think, are starting to level out. They were getting pretty excessive for a while. In addition to the vehicles, we have 24 pieces of equipment, assets greater than $1,000, and then about 36 other small engines, saws, trimmers, pruners, blowers, cordless tools, all that. So when you see the mechanical budget, it'll blow your mind how much we spend, but that's what we're trying to keep going. For my budget, wages, those of you who have been on the finance committee will recognize this. This is my worksheet for generating how much I need in wages. Projected overtime hours are based on several years of real data. It actually went up pretty high last year, and this year is going to be high, but we're going to hope that next year is a normal year for us and that we don't have to come back to overspend any of the counts. But hours of overtime based on logical assumptions. These are the base rates for the guys I have in green. And then we did minimum qualifications for the positions that are open. And I did not change that to a laborer position yet, the mechanic.
Can you see what I'm highlighting?
Union positions?
Well, they are all union positions, yes. Any questions on, I suppose I should ask.
Well, your salary's not in there too, so that's absent of yours.
Mine's down here.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I have a non-union administrative assistant.
And then you said you bring in on-call snowplow drivers, so that's on a
Yes.
contract or?
They're temporary. They're paid out of wages.
Oh, they're paid
out of the wage line. Yep. They're accounted for in the overtime down here at the bottom.
Okay.
So as far as expenses, I try to drill down on each one of the line items. Anything you want to explore under building expenses, they're all separated out as much as possible. There are some things that just end up in like office supplies. I don't track how much paper I buy per year. It's a little pedantic.
No, but it's split out. Not all your permitting licenses are in your office supply line, so it's more palatable and easier to read.
Yeah, I want you to. You and the residents to know what we are spending money on.
It's split out way better. So.
General highways the same way. I try to split it out into as many reasonable things as I can. The big ticket items are up here at the top. Chapter 90 has typically given us about $315,000 a year. We had a pavement management plan done in 2018, which suggested that we should be spending $450,000 a year just to keep our roads at the level they're at. No improvement, just so they don't slip down the degradation curve. So the additional money and the big money in my general highway is these three right here, and that's for pavement preservation and sign marking and marking the roads for safety. All of the other stuff is stuff that's also in general highway, and it's all things that we use. Machinery maintenance budget. If you look down here, you can see how it really blossomed in 2024, but has gone down significantly in 25. We hopefully will have some free cash or can cover some of the overages like the winter roads deficit if we keep on track. I believe that we're doing okay in machinery maintenance.
For the deficit, we're going to try to do it from free cash. That's why we're pushing that free cash certified, but we're not going to have a lot. But hopefully we'll be able to pay off the ARPA money, pay off the central office cost, and put the rest towards the deficit.
Was the Schedule A filed? Okay,
Do you
perfect, great.
have expense account? I think my machinery maintenance, most of my accounts I think are on track. Wages is going to be tight for general highway this year. Machinery maintenance. There it is. That's not it. $426. Yeah, it looks like I'm about 50% on a lot of things except for winter roads expenses. And like I said, general highway wages, we're at 76% on that. Machinery maintenance, we're only at 30%, so we're in really good shape. I don't want to jinx anything because those big pieces of machinery can get expensive if something goes.
Your engineering line is really low though, so who does your public bidding then? Like for like all those road jobs on the previous page, like who?
We utilize Franklin Cog.
Okay, FERCog does it, yeah.
And that's about, that's up in general highway. I have the Franklin Cabo
Yeah.
up here on line 49 or 49. And that's due next week, so I've got a really fun week in addition to all the storms that are coming in. Again, the ball's in the air and something's gonna get dropped. Winter roads expenses, I always ask for more than I'm allotted. We did raise it up to 135 last year. I've consistently spent more than that. This winter has been exceptionally expensive. And wages.
What is that figure right now? I can't read this right. 190.
That was my ask from last year. I'm going up to 200,000 this year. I'm sorry. I don't have my, not all of my top titles carried, but this is FY27. These are my ask numbers. I did tighten up my machinery maintenance expenses. Like I said, it's lower, so I actually, that's different from the number that Scott has. It's not less, much less, but it's less. And then stormwater compliance, we have a federal EPA permit. We're because of the population density of the towns around us, we're mandated to perform education and sweeping activities, catch basin cleaning, among a lot of other things for this MS4 permit. We hire a consultant to help us with this burden, as well as we are a member of the Connecticut River Stormwater Coalition. That I attend meetings, I'm the representative that goes to that. This year we have to complete a demonstration project for stormwater treatment. We've picked out a spot at Conant Park, and basically it will funnel the runoff from a parking lot into a groundwater quality device, which is a grassy swale, before it discharges into the Mannion.
So the permit compliance, that's a consultant?
It is. I don't have a proposal yet.
Who do you use?
Should I say that?
Oh, I don't know. Oh, okay. Well, I don't know if it's.
We use Time Bomb.
I don't. Yeah. It's public record.
Okay. So this is the granular part. Does anybody have any questions on anything? I can go back to the PowerPoint too.
So in terms of the total, we're looking at 1325, is that right? I think, did the operational cost change a little bit from what we did?
I would say everything's gone up slightly. I believe that we built in a 2-something% increase on things like utilities and materials. I don't know how realistic that's going to be with inflation, but.
So the operational cost, what I'm seeing from the sheet I thought I got from Scott was 656, 150. Sorry, 631, but now it's 656. Is that right?
About 25,000 increase.
The total budget looks like it's 25,000 more than the sheet we had.
Oh, that was the street lighting. So that was actually removed, I'm sorry.
Oh, street lighting.
That was one of the things, yeah, that was moved back to the.
Yeah, that's never been in my budget before,
Okay.
so.
Yeah, street lighting is,
Sorry.
where does
yeah.
that sit in shared?
You'll see in the general shared expenses.
Okay, got it, okay.
You passed the test, Chris. Good job.
You did say that in the email, I forgot it, sorry. What's happening like with things like your, I know you've got a contract out for, they give you us regulations there on the street sweeping and so forth?
Yeah, that's the MS4, stormwater compliance.
What is that costing us for that?
So it has cost us, it's highly variable. It depends on what the requirements of the permit change per year. Like, for instance, we don't have to do a demonstration project every year, so that's going to be an expensive project. It's an actual construction project.
Right.
Sometimes it's just reports we have to do, like a surface water protection plan for municipal facilities, and that's something that Time Bond will draft up for us, and then I go through it and make sure it fits everything for what we can do or what we, that it's realistic, that it matches where our operations are.
Mm-hmm. But we have a company that we hired to come and do that. Is it-
Ty and Bond does most of the reports, the technical, like creating the design for the demonstration project, the stormwater quality unit,
Right.
as well as they will probably do the bidding for that.
Yeah.
And then a lot of the educational requirements are done through Connecticut River Stormwater Coalition. And then a lot of that stuff is you'll see me share things on the town website. It's not because I am actually am interested in stormwater, but I'm sharing it because it's a educational requirement.
Yeah.
You'll see things on leaf disposal and grass and things like that.
Yeah. And you've got 40,000 budgeted for the street sweeper, is that right?
Yes.
Twice a year total?
Street sweeping, no, it's 35.
Oh. But
We've been coming into the 2 years, we never bid it out before, we always did it in-house. The 2 years data I have, the average is like 30,942. So with a little increase, I put 35.
that's twice a year in the town?
So we do it once on every street in town, but for the requirements of the permit, it's twice in the jurisdictional areas.
And I think my other question would be relative just to utilities, just real quick. Given that you're putting in some new systems at the highway department, how's this looking and what do you think it's going to do for?
I'll be honest, I have no idea. That's why it's in yellow. So we're replacing our oil-fired burner from the 20s with a updated one, which is not a steam boiler, it's a hot water system, and it heats our whole facility. I won't know until I get a year's data of what it's going to cost.
Is it heat pump? Is that what it is, or
No, it's a propane-fired hot water, and then it blows through these exchange units that are out in the garage bays. So I'm unsure. I would hope that it's more efficient than what we've had, but I can't qualify that. The other unknown, Scott, are we still going to do trash the same way? It's all going to be handled
that'll be
through
the transfer station. We gotta.
And we'll do a journal entry or whatever, however you do it. Okay. Then yep.
Where did the 140,000 number for the winter roads expenses come from that is here? Because don't you have 200?
But every year, I think Randall asks for more than we end up
Yes.
giving because of the
Right.
deficit spending mechanism.
Sure, but who, is that Scott's number? Like, where did that number come from?
135 plus 5, right?
Yes.
Because we budgeted
I
last year.
have to advocate that I think that it's the real money we're spending on. If I don't, what happens is the delta between what we actually spend and kind of level funding it or even coming up slightly, it just makes me look like an ineffective manager and I can't deal with that. I work very hard to manage my budget.
Yeah, we've got 140,000 budgeted.
So I have to advocate for the real cost of taking care of us, snow and ice.
Yeah.
But I understand the limitations of our budget. As well as the emergency mechanism.
Are we, Scott, running up to the limitations of future years' free cash?
We were able to cover it last year, and we should be able to cover it it should be a very easy thing with free cash once we get rid of the central office costs and the ARPA money this year. So central office, we were going to owe 150,000 for central office costs from the 3-4 years ago, and $130,000 is going to come off of our free cash for the
CARES
Act, not ARPA, from 5 years ago that we're going to owe. So the remaining would probably be dedicated to the
snow deficit.
Hopefully, hopefully it'll be, the total will be $300,000 to $400,000 in free cash. Knock on wood.
I'll do it now.
And that, that does mean there's zero money towards stabilization, OPEB, or capital expenses.
Are we really in the third year of the central office? Or am I?
Second year.
We're in the second year. We were 3 years was the agreement.
What's a central office?
Central office never billed the 5 towns for the cost.
Oh,
Hampshire Regional.
okay.
So instead of one big lump sum, we managed to negotiate a payment plan
Okay.
of sorts.
So if I may ask a question, back to
Sure.
the big projects on the first part of the presentation. So like we know like we have to do, like the 4 ones that are upcoming, the walkway one.
There's
the-
actually 5 because I forgot the demonstration project, but yes, the 5 projects.
Now, because of our current crisis, like which ones of these we have to put some money towards now, and which one of them maybe we can address in 2028? Or I do see, so it's 2028. So are all of these on track for funding in 2028? Or are we? What are the asks for the needs now?
We're gonna have to start the land acquisition next fiscal year.
Yeah.
early.
Yes. They're on the tip. We want to stay on the tip because if we get bumped, it gets really hard to
Yeah.
fit in.
You
You
lose
really
it.
have to
Yeah.
lobby
Yeah.
for this.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
In fact, it wouldn't be a bad thing if any of the select board would like to go, or you go onto the JTC meetings. I'm double booked for Tuesday, but I may skip the recycling meeting that I'm supposed to attend to go onto the JTC because you want to make sure Joint Transportation Committee at PVPC, once you have something on the tip, you want to go to those meetings because if you don't, oftentimes, if you're not there, you'll get bumped. And I think that's already
Usually
happened.
You and or Scott, no, usually, or no?
Yeah, I try to go to them, but again,
Yeah, right.
I'm dealing with limitations of
But
time and space.
we're on the tip, we had been, I think a year, maybe earlier, I think we'd been on 27.
Yeah, we'd been bumped. I think we
For-
were on
we'd been
27
bumped.
for one,
Yeah,
28 for the other, and now
Right.
they're talking about 29 for East Street, but I'm pushing back.
Yeah.
I don't want costs to escalate anymore
Mhm.
because it gets
Mhm.
more expensive every year.
yeah, so some of these other costs are gonna have to start getting planned for now. But Mass Trails has been very generous with funding the Greenway every year for the design
Yeah,
work,
I
so.
thought that a lot had been funded by Mass Trails,
Yeah.
and that's the construction for that is being funded by an earmark, right?
Yeah.
It's on the tip, but
It's on
it
the
was.
It's
a weird mechanism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The town purchased it, and then the design work is through the grant, but ARPA money for the last year and this year.
Okay.
Yeah, but we were on the tip for, I think it was like, I wanna say 16 million or something that I
Okay.
remember. for the
And I'm not
construction.
sure what can be used for grants for right-of-way acquisition, or if anything can be. But we already are in control of most of the right-of-way. Is that correct?
For phase 1.
Okay.
Yeah, phase 2 will be a different story.
All right.
Not sure.
I have to imagine there's some mechanism that CPA funding can be pulled in for the Greenway.
Oh, for recreation.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, that would be a great idea if we could use it.
Possible, yeah. But I mean, the state definitely wants the Greenway to move, so they've been very supportive on that.
I put all of these on here because the state actually asked me in a meeting the other day, like, which ones do we want to push forward? There's a lot going here. I can't think of one that I would pull back on though.
No.
Even the bridge. I mean, you
Yeah.
must be getting complaints from residents about it, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
I'd abandon that bridge if we find out we own it. See ya.
They'll make it a
I don't
toll
disagree.
There we go.
Maybe we can get one of those surplus military bridges that just unfold.
There we
It's
go.
gonna be a fast pass responder.
Pontoon bridge.
Well, the hope is that the rehabilitation costs are relatively reasonable, but we don't want to spend $1 on it for evaluation until we know what the cost
Do we really
shares
understand?
are.
Yeah. Yeah.
'Cause the worst thing you can do is spend money on something, years go by, and then it's useless. Like the evaluation you had is now.
Antiquated, now we have to do another one, and
Yeah,
it
and
happens
I don't
often.
like spending money twice.
Right. Just one last one on personnel, I just want to clarify. So we've got 2 vacancies now.
3.
2 operators and the mechanic laborer?
Was gonna be a mechanic. I would accept a laborer at this point.
So last
We
year,
just need butts and seats.
so we had 7.5 positions. The half was supposed to be filled halfway through the year, but full-time. The mechanic has been unfilled, and we reduced that to labor
For last
for
year.
this fiscal year.
Oh, well, that
And
was.
then the 6th one you did have filled, and the person had left.
Oh, yeah, we had, I'd filled 2 positions and one person has already left for more money.
In Worcester.
In Worcester.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have 3 vacancies now.
Yes.
And last year you had 2, so this was a third?
No, because we cut those positions.
Right.
Yeah, I whatever the mechanism
Can
was.
you go to your personnel slide for a minute?
For me, cutting any of these positions would be detrimental.
How long have they been vacant for?
2018, but but
It's
I know the tendency would be to say, oh well, you've been doing without them since 2018. We've been drowning since 2018.
Right.
And you're filling it with overtime.
No, maybe it's that colored one up.
We're trying not to, but I mean, I'm jumping in machines that I should be in this office doing administrative stuff,
Yeah.
and I'm out every storm with those guys right now.
A lot of the overtime too is because of the winter storm, so it's not even like if we said, oh, we'll fill all 3, but we're not gonna see that much of a reduction per se.
So what's the main reason that you can't fill those positions?
I think we've done great on increasing wages, but honestly, we can't compete with the private sector. For anybody with you need 2 professional licenses to operate hoisting and a commercial driver's license, and you can make twice what you can make with a town in private industry. So. You have to really be the right person to fit into the job.
Someone that wants the benefits and the thing, and understand that that's such a value.
And the
Not
trick,
everyone-
the trick there is, the young people don't understand the benefit of benefits, and so we skew older. And now, and like right now, I think we've got 3 people with retirement in the in the front.
In the next few years.
Yeah.
If not sooner.
Yeah.
So what about with the 3 open positions though? And again, we realize that you've been doing it since 2018, but if we filled 1 out of the 3 or 2 out of the 3 and was able to at least reserve it, it's still much better and try to get you fully staffed.
Well, honestly, that's what we're trying to do. Filling all 3 at once would almost be detrimental. Trying to get somebody onboarded.
And then training everybody, it's going to take away from your operation.
It takes away from us already drowning. So with 2 people trying to train them, I got lucky because I got 2 people that had all of the prerequisite licenses, and one of them had all the experience I needed. And so he was offered a shot. And so then I was really just concentrating on trying to train 1 person.
So should we stagger?
That's what we've been doing.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Is it that way in your budget workbook, Scott?
I really want to
No,
emphasize, though, I don't want to lose
restoratively funded.
positions permanently. We're going to have to start cutting services, and we've tried that before, and nobody wants to cut anything.
No.
You try not mowing a field, and people lose their minds. You try not mowing the cemetery, and people lose their minds.
No, and I think you've done well by paving those roads because that, in my opinion, is what makes taxpayers tick is when they say their roads and their potholes and, it's very important, the roads in the town and the communities they live in.
Yeah, I try to do a robust pavement preservation plan every year. I have a worksheet and I have groups of roads that I aim to try to fit into the Chapter 90. I've been kind of holding back, like I said, to see what shakes out with those other things because I realize I want to keep those going, but at the same time, I do want to pave some roads. So I might take 1 chunk of one of these colors and try and get them done just to keep things moving forward. But if you look at the totals on what it would cost,
Does Chapter 90, do they, if they see, they say, hey, Randall, we see you have 1.2 million sitting in, could it affect your funding next year if you're not expending it within a reasonable amount of time?
I've been told that legislators don't like it because it's money that they've put out there for infrastructure that's not getting used and they want to see the results. But at the same time, little communities like us, there's 2 reasons I would hold on, 3 really. Contingency for some big projects, saving it for a known good project, the first one was unknown, saving it for a known big project because you only get 350 per year. Or the third, for example, when I did that ambitious 700-something thousand, I think we got a better price on asphalt when we bid it out because you got, I know I'm spending
bigger quantity.
Bigger quantity.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is my strategy. I don't think we've ever, we don't go over $1 million very often. It's because of the supplementals that came in that we're over $1 million.
Yeah.
I like to keep 1 or 2 years in reserve, so like about 600,000. But other than that, I like to get the pavement on the ground too, just like the legislators.
At some point, you had told us a couple years ago maybe what it cost to do just a mile of paving or something.
Oh yeah, that's. I tried to give some real world examples
Because
in my
that really was an eye opener to
PowerPoint.
me when you get through Chapter 90 money and then sounds like a big number, but it doesn't go very far.
No, it doesn't. They're already dated costs, but where is it?
Yeah, and since COVID, everything in construction has doubled,
it's
so.
crazy, but it's.
I'm looking for one that says public. It's what I did for that presentation about Maple Street.
Yeah.
I have too much stuff on my desktop. I know.
No,
I work the same way.
Right up there, the third
I always
line.
get judged for it.
What?
Third line, public speaking, first one, right there.
No, that's this.
Oh, something else.
Or no, that was a seminar I went to.
Oh, okay, sorry. Never mind, it's not important. But I know you were saying that, it's ridiculous, what a mile of paving actually costs.
Here it is.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so construction, and this is probably very dated, 8 million per mile. Full depth reclamation, that's like if you tore up all of the pavement, including the base, which you have to have a pretty substantial base, 733,000. Mill and fill, overlay, these are the ones I utilize most often. Total reconstruction, we can't afford that, so those are the ones we end up going out for tip. But mill and fill, just an overlay without mill, crack seal, and chip seal's not on here, but chip seal's another one I use quite often. It puts a durable wear course on. It'll get you several years of till you have to do something else.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Any other questions, anybody?
You guys have gone through a marathon tonight.
No, well, you've been sitting here all the time too. Anyway, thank you, Randall.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions come up, I always invite you guys. Nobody came to visit me. I know my building's dingy, but
we know where to find it.
We've got spirit.
Yeah. And we'll have you back for
Transfer station, yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
Next Thursday again.
All righty.
That one's less detrimental to the general fund. It's actually has a fee-based
Right.
enterprise fund.
Okay. All right.
Thank you kindly.
Scott, just remind us what our next budget meeting is?
Wednesday,
What, next Wednesday?
and that one is.
We won't have quorum because I work one day a week. On Wednesday, I'll be at Paisanos and Becky's out of town, so.
Wednesday, clerk, treasurer, townwide items, and accounting.
And then Thursday as well too, right?
I can do it Thursday, but I put it forward, I can never do
that's
a
fine.
Wednesday.
That's a school's.
All right.
North School will be here, Hampshire Regional will not.
On the Thursday.
But I might want to do revenues and a few other things.
Yeah.
So.
Remember to thank
Yeah. So we'll take a.
I think you're adjourned.
We're adjourning here, folks.
He made the motion, I seconded.
Okay, I didn't hear it. Thank you very much.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.